All right, today I want to start off with a story how everything can go wrong in a county in North Carolina. And this is kind of a funny story, but it's not really funny to the people that were involved. What happened was a guy, you know how they used to have VHS tapes where you go into like a 7-Eleven or go into like a Blockbuster video store or go into like convenience stores and rent movies for $2 or $3 per tape. Well, this guy rented a videotape, but when he brought the videotape back, he brought the case back that the tape was supposed to be in, but the VHS tape was not in there. So a couple weeks went by, so the store owner in North Carolina, I kid you not, went and filed charges to have a warrant for him because he thought he stole the tape because the tape wasn't in there. So he went and made arrangements to have a warrant on this guy. Well, after the warrant was filed, the guy who owned the store ended up passing away of having a heart attack. It's a true story, I kid you not. Well, time went on in North Carolina, according to their law, if a warrant is filed due to someone doing a crime to somebody, if they die, and they can be proven that they were dead or that they really did die, and that warrant is no longer admissible in North Carolina. It's a void. Well, what happened was a guy went to trial 3 times for the same warrant, and yet it took him 3 times to realize that the guy who filed the warrant with the police, because they didn't have the tape, they found out that he was deceased. But it took him 3 trials, which was 6 months later, to finally realize, to make the connection. They ended up calling the coroner, and they found out that the guy, oh yeah, we buried him, over 7 months ago. And so the third trial, it took 3 times for the presiding judge to realize that, after they got that information, that they just basically told the guy, that he was free to go and drop the charges because the guy who issued the warrant was deceased. So the warrant was no longer valid. But it took 3 times. So I don't know if he got any money from that or not. But you see, when people don't do their paperwork right, this is kind of mess ups that do happen. And not saying they always happen, but they do happen from time to time. But it took them 3 court appearances before they realized that the third one, that they realized that this guy indeed was deceased, that issued the warrant on this guy because the tape was not in the case, the videotape. So anyway, that's just the story. And sometimes things like this really do happen. They're not science and they're not fiction. They're real. And I also want to talk to you a little bit about. I want to switch gears, and I want to in the news and talk about the bus stations, the Richmond Greyhound station shooting that happened 2 days ago here in Richmond, Virginia, and give you some analysis on that. As you all know, the Shields and everyone that knows me, I've always been a person of history. I don't know if you know this or not, and of information. Knowing and putting things together like a profile or analysis kind of person. And what I see here looks like the makings of a false flag. Looks like the makings of what happened at the Richmond bus station. Doesn't look random at all. It looks like it was planned. Just like in California at the social services facility. They were having some type of drill there, some type of exercise. Somebody goes in there and just starts shooting up the place. In that case, the shooter actually was shot, just like in this one. So it's like a psyop kind of. Looks kind of like that. It smells like that. I don't want to think that. I want to be, I want to think also that this guy, was disturbed, but he also may have been a patsy, as we've seen stuff like this before, like in Oklahoma City when the bombs were made and they had shards of metal in them and they went off. and you know, and that basically injured a lot of people. Nobody died there, but we do know that that was a false flag just to instill fear in the population, just like the shooting at Greyhound is another facility in Richmond was also one of those types of props of fear in the population, general population. Just like in California, when they were running a drill there, conducting a drill there in California at the Social Services Center, that shooting also was to engage fear. See, they call in the population there too. What we see here is by looking at the footage and all the information coming in, this guy here from Channel 6, this video is coming from WTVR Channel 6. I'm not going to show you the video because it's copyright and stuff, but I'm just telling you a little bit about describing it to you anyway. This to me does not look random. People just don't walk into a place and just start shooting up a place like this normally, unless that was planned. Just like in, when they have drills before false flags happen, usually in other countries, we've seen this in other countries when countries have been compromised. We see where more of these things will take place to instill fear and to take away freedoms, so that will place freedom. The word freedom will be really tyranny, because there'll be more engagement with the public and more lockdowns, if you will, that will interrupt the normal flow of business as usual and of commerce, if necessary, so that they can inflict more force on our population. We know that when a country is compromised, the Constitution that was written, has also been ratified, which means changed, if you don't know what that means. They go in there and change the Constitution, which is what they essentially are doing or have already done, and now it allows these foreign people to come in. Now, we talk about there'll be lots of land grab going on. We already see a start of that happening in America. It's where a bunch of foreign countries come in and buy the land up, even if you've already paid off your mortgage or your deed. So this is really scary, but this is happening in America. Your house that your land is on, remember how I said this before, is not really your land, even though you got the deed in your papers in your safe at the bank or in your house that shows otherwise. Well, that's not true, because what happened is recently they have went in and redid all this, and they did not tell nobody. They did this in plain sight, but they did this in secret. And what they did is they made it to where the government could just take your land with no question, even if you paid it off, because nobody truly owns any land anymore with the way the laws have been changed and ratified in this country. So even though you may have a paper that has your name on it, like say Charlie Shields, and Sean and Charlie Shields, or let's say Linda Garrett and Stuart Garrett, and you may have a property that has your name on it. That property may have it on deed, but that property has already been sold out underneath you. And this is horrible, and it should make you mad, but it's very true. And, anyone could come in basically from outside if they want and take your land and force you off of it if necessary. And that's how serious this is. This is all part of the compromise. I believe this was a drill in place. Drills happen before major false flag events happen. So even though we see these, just like a day after that, we had a bomb go off outside of California. Disneyland. Disneyland had a bomb that went off there, but nobody was killed because it went off outside of the place. But, that's just to instill fear in the population. They have to get everybody all scared, so everybody will just give up all the freedoms and give everything over to the government, so you want no freedom. And that's what we don't want to do. Okay? They can blow up buildings. They can go in there and arrange people to go in and shoot up places and kill people. But don't allow them to take away your freedom. Because this is really a precursor. This is why they did this in Paris. Because after that, there was major lockdown in France. Okay? And it's still majorly locked down. They have not lifted those restraints. Because it is not by the local police. This is by a foreign entity We have the same foreign entity here in America. We really do. It's underway, and it's here. And that's the same thing they're going to do to us. If, a lot more mayhem happens, it won't be local law enforcement anymore. It's going to be this foreign world police. What they have is a big picture. Let's pull back the lens of the camera and show you the real big picture of the ugly New World Order's plans. What they want to do is to have a worldly treaty of all countries, a worldly constitution, and a worldly, just a worldly court and tribunal, and have parliaments for both. That's really what they're doing here, folks. And this has all got to take place so that the New World Order can go into power. Okay? That's why they're erecting these temples of Baal, all as a part of that. The Antichrist will reveal himself here shortly. I guarantee you, once all these Baal temples have been erected in the next couple of years, all across the world, and all cities, we will see a major influx. It will look like Satan has just embarked the world. It will look like in a way of never before. Once these go up, God is going to start doing some major things in retaliation of this effort of what people building these Tower of Babel or Baal structures, like in Times Square, for example, and the one that's going to be going up in London this month. And they're going to be doing these erections of these temples all over with the 45-foot archways. I said 50 in the other video, but it's 45. And about, 20-some feet wide. So it's going to be more like a portal right there where the Antichrist will come in through. They believe that's how he'll be able to appear, to go through the portals there. And the archway is that portal for him to move from city to city using the CERN as the gateway, and the portal will be the opening through that archway. That's what a lot of people think, and that's what I think is why they have it built to those specifications as the original Syrian Baal temple was built or erected. It's going to be erected in April 16th, so be looking out for that. They are building this museum, but it's all tied in with this temple of Baal, but Babel, or the gateway to the gods, is when you look up that deeper meaning. So they give you a lot there. That's why I need you all. Shields, I need you. I can't do this alone. This stuff is getting really crazy. Now, I wanted to go on into some other analysis. What also happened at the station. The nature of how the shootings took place 2 days ago. They walk in, they're having a drug training seminar there. So they had something in place there, just like they had in California. They had a drill already there. What they call this is a drill that's in place, but also they can go live and use real people and real situations, just like the drill that they had take place just a week ago up in D.C. last week, where an actual woman that was a local citizen bystander who was shot due to one of these drills. See, we see all this happening all over the country. Why? To instill fear in the general populace. To take away your freedom. That's what this is really all about. The big picture. When we pull back the lens, this is what we're seeing. Okay, it's the making some false flags to get people scared and uproared against each other, so that you won't have freedom, and so you'll think that, hey, we're not safe unless we have a cop on us 24/7. We don't need cops on us 24/7. We have God. What happened to Christians? What happened to people that really believe in God? What happened to following God? What happened to relying on His protection? What happened to that? The true people of God, the children of God, will have that protection, even in the last days, if they're faithful, because the Bible tells us this. People, we need to realize that, because that's what this is. Okay? Now, I want you to understand this. Like I said, the battle that's being fought among us is spiritual. But because people's heart in this world and faith towards God is dwindling, that's why it's become physical. It's gotten into the physical world. Because we are not standing up as leaders of faith to combat it. See? So, this is what always happens, like what we see in the Bible. This is why it happened then. This is the same reason why it's happening in our present day now, and why it will continue to happen in the future. Because of lack of people, lack of leadership in the churches that are not standing up to do their job as mouthpieces and weapons for God. Like the Bible has also warned us about over and over again, both in the Old and New Testaments. So, what we get, I hate to say, a lot of it's because we deserve it. Because a lot of us just go and coward and say, well, what solution is here, folks? Let's just lie here. We don't have to do anything. Somebody else will take care of it, right? Well, that somebody else is you. So something's going on. You, not somebody else, need to start doing something. Form a plan. Form a community of leaders that are devout, true Christians that you can go to. A network. I've said this years ago. I'll say this today because this is the reason why we need something like this in place. So we can stop these things from happening. To speak out against these tragedies. What happened in California looks a lot like what happened at the Greyhound bus station 2 days ago. It was planned. It was a drill in place in both locations. And this was not a random shooting. Somebody went in there. They shot at a police officer like they knew they were going to do that. And they shot at two of them. One died at the scene. A federal police officer died. And a bystander and another police officer were shot, which is still living. They're at a Richmond local hospital. And the suspect was the fourth person who was shot by another police officer or civilian, and he was dead on the scene. So, sorry being graphical, so please forgive me, but it's really what happened there at the Greyhound bus station 2 days ago. So I want to let you know that more of these things are underway. Why? To instill fear and to take away your freedom. Now, we don't start doing something about it, they're going to do just that. I'm just going to warn you, because that is what's happening, folks. Your local police are not the reason why this is happening. Okay, I know there's also another way to look at this, that there are people that are angry at the police, or they want to make it look like that people are, because I know people are very angry at the local law enforcement, because there are bad people within the law enforcement that are corrupt. There are PSYOP people that are in it. There really are. But there are a lot of good police law enforcement too. They're not all bad. I know people that would die for you here in Mechanicsville or in Henrico that are good policemen, men and women, that are officers that I personally know, that are not compromised. They are good law-abiding citizens just like you, and they care about you. And they care about your freedom, and they will fight with you on the lines if there is a war in this country, if it gets to that. And they will not take orders from their command, central command, that are telling them to kill their own citizens or to remove their guns. They will not do those orders. They'll stand down. And they'll stand beside along with us. And there are cops out here that will do that. And there are cops out here that will give in to the government new way of doing things. Who's calling the shots. And there's a large movement to think that all this stuff that's happening in this country is the cops' fault, too. And that could cause more copycat shootings to take place, and they won't be false flags like the Greyhound bus station or what happened at the social services place in California just 4 months ago, and the bomb going off outside of Disneyland in California. You see, that was reported, but everybody, the big news people didn't say nothing about it. Really, it was reported though, but they don't say nothing about that though. But I laugh at them. I laugh as a sad. And also why they're not reporting this stuff, why they're not airing this stuff. It's amazing. But it's going on in our country right now. So, you see, that's what we're dealing with. And it's all by design to take it down, to take away all your freedom. It's the key players, big players that are involved. That's why they're erecting these temples of Baal, because you would never see anything be erected in Times Square at all, unless some really powerful, evil people are behind it. And that's why these temples are going in all over the world, are being erected like this. So Michael DeSilvis in the news. In the newsroom. Before I leave here with you today, I received a post from my mother. I guess she got it from a friend or from you're going to see probably my neck. Sorry about that, kids. Sorry about that. But I'm going to read this because I'm reading it off of another phone. And I want to read it to you because it's such a powerful thing that I received in my Messenger app. I had it up here on this phone, but for some reason, the stupid phone here, I don't know what happened here. It's like it's gone. So I'm going to go back into, here we go. That's not it. I'm going to go back into it here. And here, maybe that's it. But this message was sent, I guess, to my mother. I liked it. Oh, and it's on Facebook. But basically, it's rather encouraging. That's why I want to share it with you this morning. Now, you're going to see the top of my head because I'm going to be reading. Okay, so there was a story about a young girl who one day decided to take a walk. Wait a minute. There was a story about a young girl who had decided to take a shortcut to get to her home from school one day. And the fastest way that she could take, that was right in proximation to her house, was to cut through an alleyway. Now, the little girl approached the alleyway as she would normally do when she would normally take a shortcut to come home. And she saw a man that was standing there like he was waiting for someone to approach. She said a prayer to herself, to God. She said, "Dear God, please let me pass through this very alleyway safe and unharmed. Amen." So the little girl kept proceeding while she was praying that prayer. So this girl just walked through the alleyway and just passed the man. Later on that very night, the girl decided to watch the local news there, and she saw that man had raped and murdered another young girl. Okay, and the police and the man told them, the policeman had told them another girl had passed through that very alleyway just 10 minutes earlier, when they asked that man why he hadn't attacked the first little girl, which was her. He said that there was a man that was walking alongside her, and that's the reason why he didn't attack and rape and murder that little precious little girl. But all because of prayer that she prayed. An angel of God was walking beside her. See, God walks with us even though we will deny His presence. But He is always there with us. Now, 95% of the people will just read this very message and shove their phones off. But among the other 5% will read this very message and send it on to friends. It says, don't be ashamed that you are a child of God. Just admit it, that you're a child of God. Okay? Sorry, I have no choice I am a child of God. Just say that out loud, excitedly. This is a test to see whether more people are followers of God or of Satan. Because if you shove your phone off after hearing a wonderful story like this, then you must not be a follower of God. All right. If Satan does, if you are a follower of Satan, then just close your phone and ignore this. But before you do, let me pray this prayer for you. Okay. You'll find favor with God. Someone you don't expect. Amen. You'll be too relevant to be ignored. Amen. All right. 3. You'll encounter God and will never remain the same ever again. Amen. God's grace for completion will come upon you, and you will be a blessed person till the Blessed One comes. He will call upon you. Amen. 5. The very hand that will send this very message out to others will also not labor this in vain. Amen. The mouthpiece saying Amen to the very prayer, to this prayer, will laugh forever. Amen. I should say will live forever. Amen. Very soon, I say, very, very soon, God is going to do a miracle and lift you up for doing good in His name. Here's a test. If you love God and you're a child of God, all right, and you're not ashamed of admitting that you belong to Him, please send this message out to 10 other people and watch what He will do for you. As soon as you get 5 replies, someone you love will quietly surprise you. So there you go. Instead of me sending this out, we'll just put it on the video. So I hope if you people watching my videos, there's a little message here. If you receive that message in your inbox, please, send it out. Don't be afraid to send something like that out, because that message there is powerful and it's encouraging, and it's not a chain letter. It's really the truth. I mean, are you a child of God or are you a child of Satan? This will basically determine those factors, and I think it's relevant to very relevant to send something like that out today with the way things are going in this country and the current state of the world. So Michael DeSilvis and the News Center giving the analysis of what I think would happen in Greyhound Station and what happened in California, and also what happened with the bomb scare outside of Disneyland in California. In the News Center, independent media, signing off.